20 questions, figure out what car I'm thinking of. Go.
Is it from a European car company?
Yes.
Is it from a country that was on the Axis power?
Yes.
During...
Welcome to episode 4 of the Bose Bros podcast. I'm Mason.
I'm Jordan.
I'm Garrett.
I'm Logan. Oh, I'm Logan.
And we'll jump right in with our first discussion segment. We're going to be talking about the news. So in car news this week, it was announced that there's going to be a new car manufacturer selling vehicles in the U.S. It's the Cupra, which used to be a performance subdivision of Seat, which is a Spanish automaker.
I thought it was Seat.
Seat could be. I mean, that could be European.
We read it as Seat.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the
Seat.
That's probably what it is.
Well, it's an S, so it wouldn't be. If it was a CE8, anyway, we won't get into language semantics, but anyway. What you see on screen is their crossover SUV, and I have to say, as far as crossover SUVs go, I mean...
With a different grille, it could have been a Dodge.
It looks good. It looks aggressive. I think it looks cool. I mean, if more crossovers look like that, I wouldn't hate them so much, probably.
You know what? Actually, that hump over the rear wheel looks like an old Tucson. A Tucson from like 2017.
It totally does.
So... they are starting with the electric version of their Formentor crossover SUV. And then they'll follow up with their larger vehicle and maybe even a sports car. It's available, this SUV right now, with Audi's 5-cylinder engine that makes 384 horsepower. So this is 0 to 60, 4.2 seconds. 4.2 for a crossover. That's pretty good. It used to be the sporty subdivision of Seat. It's now its own brand.
Like a Genesis?
Exactly. That's in my notes here. They separated in 2018, very similar to how Genesis became its own separate brand away from Hyundai. And right now they're focusing on electrification of their lineup. They're hoping to have their cars selling in the U.S. by the end of the decade, maybe even by 2028. So, I don't know. I think it looks cool.
I think it looks great. I think the logo looks great. I love the bronze. Mm-hmm. Or not bronze. What is that?
Brass.
Brass. Yeah. Like dark copper. Mm-hmm. Looks really good.
If it was gold, you would hate it. So.
Oh,
somehow it works.
Yeah. Maybe it's the sort of gunmetal.
I think it looks like if you asked like an AI render to like, just like, hey, give me a generic, sporty looking compact crossover.
Give me a Spider-Man knockoff logo.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, like all these stats are great, but it's also like Tesla said that the Roadster was going to come out in 2020, and it was going to go to 0 to 60 in 1.99 seconds.
Here's the thing: this car is already on sale in the UK or in Europe.
Then it's just a drivetrain and certification problem,
and swapping it for left-hand drive. Well, I guess if they do it in Europe, they already have left-hand drive versions. But anyway,
yeah,
I think it looks cool.
Some countries drive on the left or drive on the right with left-hand drive, I think.
Well, I like it. I think it's cool. It's they're gonna sell 5 or 6 of those. With how many the small crossover market is so saturated. There is no sliver of that market that's untapped, and the only one that's potentially untapped was the performance end. And Dodge tried that, but they came in way too high on price.
Yeah.
So,
can you clarify something? It says it makes 384 horsepower and it does 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. Is that the same power plant, or is the 4.2 seconds the electrified version?
That is the current version that's on sale. The one that uses Audi's 5-cylinder engine.
Wow. Is it like just really light?
A crossover that has almost 400 horsepower, I could believe, and it's probably got all-wheel drive. 4.2 seconds is easily achievable with that.
It's definitely got to have all-wheel drive, because that much horsepower through the front wheels is dangerous amounts of torque steer.
Yeah.
I mean, the Golf R has to have all-wheel drive and this trick front diff. Honda had to develop a whole different system for making a front differential to keep it from torque steering, and that thing has like 312 horsepower.
So it's all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. That much power, they're definitely doing all-wheel drive.
Yeah. And that 5-cylinder, though, sounds amazing because it doesn't have like balancing shafts or anything else. Like the 5 and the 10-cylinder engines, I think, sound the best.
You said a 5-cylinder engine sounds better than like an 8-cylinder?
I would say a 5-cylinder sounds better than a 4 or a 6. And I would say a 10 sounds better than an 8 or a 12.
Interesting. Hot take. You should have saved that for your hot take section.
Isn't it just 5, like inline 5-cylinder? Yeah. Next up, who's got this?
That's mine.
Okay.
You guys...
Was this your AI generated image?
Yeah, it is.
Is it just Rogues? Is that all it is?
I just told it overstocked Nissan dealer.
Okay, and it's all Rogues. So
they got the front grille like dead on.
Yeah.
So you're going to understand this in a second. So the way I decided to frame this is I'll go over Nissan's problems and then I'll go over the things that they're doing to solve them.
Okay.
Okay. So starting at the top, Nissan makes 5 of the top 20 slowest selling cars in the United States.
Define slowest.
They stay on the lot the longest. The majority of Nissan dealers are actually losing money. Most, if not all, have been in the red for like more than half of last year. Okay. The reason is consumers are not buying their cars. How are they still moving metal, as they say? They are selling them to fleets. For all of last year, they averaged 17% fleet sales. Cool. What does that mean? A healthy car company typically stays around 10%. And the reason you would do fleet sales is because you can sell a lot of them for a smaller margin to Hertz or Enterprise or whoever else.
They're consistent.
Right. And the problem is that you're essentially doing that to offload cars that you can't sell. And it's a great option for a dealer because they have to pay interest on every car that's on their lot every month. So a lot with a lot of cars might have to pay $130,000 in interest a month. That's an insane amount of money.
Yeah.
The number that's really important in this is your day's supply. How many days do you have on the lot of cars? You don't want to have a 5-day supply because that means you need to get cars in right now. You're going to run out of cars to sell. Nissan's problem, though, is on the other end. They have an average, so some of them are more than this by definition. They have an average across all their dealers in the US of 104 days on the lot. A healthy number is around 60. You want to have like 2 months in case there's some kind of supply chain problem.
I have a question about that number, though. Is that the average number or is that the median number? Because could there be like a small subset of just terrible Nissan dealers?
Well, if you go by Consumer Reports, you would say that small subset is like 100% of Nissan dealers are crappy.
Okay.
In January, their fleet sales actually increased from 17% to 25%. February, they were over 44% of Nissan sales.
Wow.
What's the problem with fleet sales, though? You're moving cars, you're making small margin, but you're moving cars. The problem is that you, Joe Schmo, you show up to buy a $30,000 Altima nicely equipped. And then you look, there's one 2 years old on the market for 19, 18.
We were hesitant to buy used because minivans are, as far as how loved vehicles are by their, families, minivans have it pretty rough. They have a rough life.
Like the way my dog loves his chew toy.
The part you said that's critical is you were apprehensive. That apprehension is universal. People don't want to buy a car that was a rental car because they know how they treat their rental cars, right?
Drive it like you don't own it.
Exactly. So
For us, a minivan, it was a safer bet to go with a rental than a family-owned one. But generally, people are hesitant to buy.
the value of a used car is inversely proportional to how many of those cars were sold to fleets 3 years ago. So the problem is that 2016, 17, 18, there was a guy in charge, Carl Ghosh, I think is his name. And he was emphasizing fleet sales to get inventory up. But the aftermarket value of their cars dropped out the bottom. because nobody's going to go buy a $30,000 Altima when they can get one 2 years old. Same thing, but with 20,000 miles.
Why is this a Nissan problem? Nissan's already sold these vehicles to the dealers. Why do they care about used vehicle sales? Nissan doesn't see that money, right?
They can't sell a new one if someone can get a very lightly used one for half the price or less than half the price.
So it's a compounding issue. The more they sell to fleets, the less they sell new. The more they have to sell to fleets, the less they sell new, the more they have to sell to fleets.
It's a death spiral.
But Nissan is still selling cars to fleets.
The dealers are selling them to fleets. The dealers are buying them from Nissan, but if the dealers are sitting on over 100 days of stock, guess what they're not buying is new Nissans. It's gotten so bad that Nissan has actually started parking finished cars in their parking lot where the employees park at most of their factories.
Reminds me of COVID with all the F-150s.
Oh, yeah.
They couldn't get microchips.
Well, the problem is that they can't find anyone to buy them. And to top it off, Nissan had a data breach in their Australian and New Zealand servers, and all their financial information was lost. This is like 2 weeks ago.
They're going to release 35 new models by 2030, so clearly there's nothing to worry about.
They're making huge promises. So what are their solutions? These are gonna sound a lot more like problems than solutions.
Or features.
Yeah. Dealers are offering more aggressive fleet prices to get rid of their inventory because they're actually losing money hand over fist every day these cars are sitting on their lot. So another solution they did in February, they started talking with Honda regarding an EV technology partnership, just in time for the EV market to drop.
Yeah.
March, Nissan starts paying dealers who already have too many cars between $500 and $2,000 per car to buy them from Nissan. Why are they doing that? They want to pad their sales numbers because in the middle of March is the end of their fiscal year.
Financial figures, yeah.
You might say, why don't they just spend all of that money making better cars? But
that's not their they're like you mentioned to me, they're targeting the bottom of the market. So if they can get by rebadging, adding some minor changes year over year to an existing car, they're going to do that.
Introduce the 96-month mortgage or vehicle loan. They will, like, Nissan dealerships will finance anybody. You know what I mean? I think they should just like basically do what we did with subprime mortgages for years prior to 2008. They should do that with Maximas. You know what I mean?
The Maxima isn't sold anymore in the US. They tanked it.
Sorry, Altimas.
There you go.
I still see Nissans everywhere though.
Because you can get them for dirt cheap because a couple of years ago they just flooded the market, and they're doing it again now because dealers cannot afford to keep them. A lot of these dealers are going to stop selling Nissans. Nissan also is second to the bottom of all auto manufacturers in ratings of trust from their dealership. So Ford has the lowest at 48% of Ford dealers do not trust Ford. 43% of Nissan dealers do not trust Nissan. And then up toward the top is your Toyota. Here's the real problem, though. Nissan's opening themselves up to a huge lawsuit because they're only offering these cash on the hood rebates to some of their dealers. And in a lot of states, they're required. They can't just say, oh, the one in Tulsa, Oklahoma is selling really, really well, but in a town over, they're not selling that well. We're not going to give them the same pricing. So they're picking the one in Tulsa can now sell it for $2,000 less than the town over. They're picking winners and losers, unfair business practices for their dealers, and they're actually opening themselves up to a huge lawsuit. And they're doing it in some states, but not others.
I was going to be really impressed if you could name another city in Oklahoma beside Tulsa.
Miami, Oklahoma. I was there.
Oh, okay. All right.
What do you think long term looks like for Nissan?
Well, they also attempted this month to purchase Fisker.
That's a winner right there.
Yeah.
They're just
Fisker, a company that's going under. They're like, I know. You look like a success.
A company so stable they were taken down by a single YouTube video.
I almost picked the Fisker story as an update because did you hear? Okay, so like 2 days ago,
it's in my news. I know what you're talking about.
Okay, all right. So we'll wait for that, but we got to get moving on.
Anyway,
is there anything else to cover in that?
Just that they have made the top, like there's like the first 5 problems that I could think of. But if you just Google Nissan business troubles, you will not run out of
Content.
Yeah, stuff that I could do this same thing with absurd stuff they've been doing for years.
Nissan is Dunder Mifflin if Creed was the CEO.
Yeah, you found it. That's the one.
All right, Logan, let's hear your story. What you got for us?
EV price cuts. So for the past few years, purchasing a used car has been a headache because there was a time, some may be too young to remember, but between 2020 and 2022, where you could probably buy like a lot of vehicles, a Toyota Corolla, some EVs, Land Rover Defender, and then you could sell it like a year later with like 15,000 miles on it and probably get what you bought it for.
Or more in some cases.
Yeah, those days are done. So that's over. It's especially true for EVs. So a couple notable examples. So the first one is Fisker. So their stock dropped like, I don't want to get the number wrong, so just like put it on the screen if this is the wrong number, but I want to say their stock dropped 97%. It was really bad.
I like how you guys could just go on there and make baseless claims. Like, Mason will do all the research and edit the video.
It sounds crazy, but I'm telling you anyway. So
By a lot. They dropped by a lot.
it was a ton. And so, and the first domino in this row of dominoes was like that Marquez Brownlee video where he kind of called him out, was like, this is the worst car I've ever reviewed. Now he only really reviews good cars, so it doesn't necessarily mean that the Fisker Ocean was like terrible, but he has a lot of respect in the online community. People trust his opinion, and it definitely didn't help Fisker. And then pretty much every other reviewer basically said the same thing. So now they cut the price by like 40% of all Fisker Oceans to try to generate enough capital to keep them afloat for like the next product release, essentially, or somebody to buy them out before they just completely tip over and go
I almost
under.
covered that too, because that's wild.
25 grand?
Brand new. Now, you won't get any support for this vehicle, obviously. Like, a lot of people have talked about this. Like, you're basically running that thing till the wheels fall off, you know? Like, you need to approach that Ocean with ultimate energy.
Yeah. No windows, just trash bags covering the glass.
Including the windshield.
Just like an Ultima, it's never going to need an oil change, right?
Yep. Never change your oil.
Oil's never getting changed in that bad boy. So anyway, so $24,999, but that's just part of it. So part of this like kind of sweeping trend that's been going on over the past couple weeks is Tesla actually cut the price of all their new models significantly, and Tesla's been able to generate a lot of production for the new Cybertruck really quickly. Something that like other manufacturers haven't been able to do for their new EVs.
It's actually impressive.
Yeah, they're starting to roll out like a significant amount of Cybertrucks now.
I haven't heard about this.
Yeah, and allegedly they're pretty cheap to manufacture, so it gives them some room to actually cut the prices on their whole lineup.
Well, don't have to paint them.
Yeah, they don't have to paint them. That's 90% of it right there. But yeah, so that that may not be the only contributing factor. I mean, Tesla's obviously a profitable company. But anyway, so because they cut the price of their new products, right, that puts downward pressure on obviously all the used products, right?
I'll mention this just because it's not on your slide, but Hertz is actually a big contributing factor to that too, because they bought tens of thousands of Model 3s and Model Ys and had them for 2 years and then are just dumping the used market with Model 3s and Model Ys. Sorry, continue.
No, that's totally true. And so then you look at like the year over year, since this time last year, the average EV price has dropped 31.8%, which by comparison for an internal combustion car is about 4 to 7%. So I was doing some research. I found some low mileage examples. 2023 Tesla Model 3s between 20 to 25 grand. So this is all under 40,000 miles.
Jeez.
Pre-2022 Tesla Model 3s are like easily sub 20s. Like I'm finding some for like 17.
That's a lot of car for 17,000.
Ford Mustang Mach-E 24 to 29. And then this is the one I want to talk about a little bit more is the Polestar 2. I'm finding them at 24. Keep in mind, this is a $70,000 car like 2 years ago.
Is that the one we're showing right now? The next car?
And look at it. It looks phenomenal.
It looks so good.
It's such a good looking car.
Who would pick a Mach-E when you could get... Well, I mean, other than this is much more expensive than the Mach-E, but...
But it's not. This is cheaper now. So I found the launch edition Polestars. So ones from like 2021 and 2022. Less than 40,000 miles. So if you look at the yellow calipers, that means that has the performance pack. So I may be wrong here, but I believe all the launch editions have the performance pack and the pilot pack. I mean, if you look at it, it looks amazing. It does not look like a $24,000 car. And all of these were under 30. Most of them were under like 27.
With less than 40,000 miles?
With less than 40,000 miles, yeah. Like 2021s and 2022s. I'm starting to rethink that whole like don't finance a vehicle thing from a couple episodes ago.
When it's such a good deal.
When interest rates are finally coming down.
And I've got that perfect 500 credit score, so like...
That's the ultimate credit score.
That's way too high to be an ultimate credit score.
Yeah.
Ultima's like...
Ultimate credit score is not triple digit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I collect baseball cards and I collect Beanie Babies. So like my collections, I got like 7 or 8 things in collections.
He's got 18 Subaru Bretts.
Obviously, this does not look like a $24,000 car, but some of the like equipment, I don't believe all this is standard equipment. But again, the ones that I was looking at were like launch editions or sport packs. So the sport pack and the pilot pack, the performance pack and the pilot pack, I believe come with a lot of this stuff standard. So you're talking about the like leather interior, 19-inch screen, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. It's got the full panoramic roof on a lot of them, up to 449 horsepower, 300 miles.
The interior's phenomenal.
The interior is amazing. Heated seats, power liftgate, wireless chargers. Like it's got the whole 9 yards. It's so much vehicle for $25,000-ish. It's unbelievable. I cannot fathom anybody would be buying something other than this at this price point. You know what I mean? Like if you have, especially if you have a garage, like if you have the ability to charge this thing at home.
And isn't this a hatch? It looks like a sedan, but it's a hatch. Yeah. So you can fit potted plants and bicycles and
bodies. Yeah.
A handful of cut up dogs, like whatever you could.
No, it's an amazing car for the money.
Volvo's not Chinese.
The main thing is that that people would be worried about is that this is like maybe it's still on the downward slope. But I have a theory about that.
Just after I was saying that CCS, do not buy a CCS car, and then we're like, look at all these CCS cars that are such a good deal.
Don't finance a car. Don't buy a CCS car. Finance this CCS car right now.
Right now, do it.
It's so good looking.
No, I think. I would say if you have the cash, obviously buy it. If it's this good of a deal, I don't know if financing it makes sense. But here's the thing I'd be worried about. Like I do think that these EVs are going to bottom out because interest rates are coming down, and when interest rates come down, obviously it's going to drive the price of these debt-based products up. It's the same thing's going to happen with mortgages because most people don't look at whether or not they can afford a house or whether or not they can afford a car. They look at whether or not they can afford the payment. Most of the payment is interest. So
I love the yellow.
It looks great.
So I think if by the end of the year we're at like 4.5% or so for interest rates, maybe we get there, more people might get priced into this market based off of lower monthly payments.
But at the same time, cost of living is still going way up.
The only thing I can tell you is that the chart will continue to move to the right. Other than that, I don't know anything.
Whether it will go up or down.
Doesn't matter. We'll continue to go to the right. But yeah, that's true. I mean, there will probably always be a place for Nissans. And yeah, so like these CCS vehicles, maybe there's a place for them with adapters or with, whatever. But
if you don't plan on road tripping it, if you've got another car you can take for road trips, fine. Just understand when you buy one of these, a CCS car, you cannot rely on it to go on a road trip.
You could use a Tesla charger, can't you?
Well, with an adapter.
With an adapter, assuming the adapter works, assuming your car can communicate with the network, and assuming everything goes fine, probably. I'm not going to base my next 18 hours charging from a gas station bathroom outlet. It's not good enough to be reliable, so you just can't. When you look at that car, you have to look at that car minus the potential for a road trip.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Like EV prices have just slumped. Like
that's not 3 rows, is it? That's not big enough for 3 rows. Do you like that car?
It's between the size of a Model 3 and a Model S. It's a sedan.
No, Model 3 and a Model Y.
Yeah, sorry, Model Y. So it's a Model Y minus 15% in every dimension.
I think it's like, when you see them on the road, they look so good.
It's got the proportions of a Ford Focus, but it's just way bigger.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that new Toyota Crown.
Yeah, exactly the same kind of car.
And one of the ways you can tell that, too, is if you look at the third picture, you see it's got the black trim along the bottom. A lot of these cars, they'll do that to give the visual appearance that they have more ground clearance than they actually do.
Mach-E does that.
Yeah, and it does it on the roof, too. A lot.
But, I mean, when you see them in person, it's hilarious. But I wanted to say, or not hilarious, it's striking. But I wanted to say that the Reddit forums, like the Reddit Polestar forum, is hilarious because there's so many people in there that bought Polestars like 2 years ago for like 60 or 70 grand. Oh my God, the cope is unreal. Like, there's
What's
so
that
many
mean?
people that like
coping mechanisms. Like, oh, it'll come back up. It'll come back up.
they're so like some people are cool, but you sort by controversial, which is the only way to use Reddit.
I mean, what do they do? Are they just?
They're just like
bent?
angry. They're just like, this is effing BS that, you're buying a better trim of my same car 2 years later for 30
For half what I
that
paid?
70 for.
That's not how you get repeat customers.
I will say Polestar has been like a wild success. The offshoot as a new brand, like I see them a lot. They have a big online presence. They just have
A big part of it has to be just how good their cars look.
There is not a single bad-looking Volvo on sale. Not any of they make some of the only SUVs that I think are attractive.
the rear end of the CX40 Recharge. That's got, I think it's the CX40 Recharge, or maybe that's or XC. Sorry, CX is Mazda. The XC40 Recharge. It's got like a taillight that goes over the top of the tailgate. I'm not big on that. But yeah, you're right. Volvo's just, they look so good. Nothing will actually hold a candle to the 1994 Volvo 940 wagon.
Is that the one they used in touring car racing?
No, it's the one that I own.
Oh.
Well, that's all I got. So it's EV price drop. So I'm going to break all the things I talked about a couple weeks ago. I'm going to be whipping a new Polestar.
They look so good.
All right. Move on to Car Quirks. This is another new segment. This is a feature unique to a car, something interesting that car does. They felt the need to be different, something you're not going to find very often. So, starting off, I don't feel like you can cover this without talking about the BMW Z1 retractable
That's how I
doors.
felt about mine. That's how I felt about my quirk.
Yeah, this is just such a wild... I mean, okay, so for some context, the doors of the Z1 retract down into the body. Similar to how a window retracts, and those windows do retract, and the door retracts into the body. You can do them both at the same time.
It's like a rushing nesting doll.
Basically. If the window's already up, they both start at the same time and both go down. Now, the benefits to this is you can get in and out of a tight parking space very easily because you could park right next to someone. You can just step over the side. You don't have to open the door, right?
This is what the new Charger needs.
Now, that's where the benefits end because there's a lot of downsides to this. Okay, one more benefit. You can actually drive the car with the doors down like that. Which, like, yeah, oh, your neighbor has a Corvette and he can drive with the top down? Can he drive with no doors? I don't think so.
You mean a Jeep can drive with no doors and the top down?
Yeah, that's true.
It can also crash in that orientation and fold into a tin can. But
So the downsides to this, so there's a lot of bespoke components. Obviously, window regulators, windshield wipers, door hinges. We've been using these for a very long time. And for a lot of them, there's a handful of manufacturers that make everything. Retracting doors, I can only imagine there's so many components in there that are just like...
your diagram here says it all.
A unique function that has not been needed before or since. And so engineering that, getting replacement parts, getting manufacturers lined up, I can't imagine that's easy.
Can you imagine trying to take the body panels off just to do some minor adjustment so like the door doesn't raise slightly in the front sooner or what? Oh my God.
Well, repairs, maintenance, they're more prone to failure, obviously, than normal doors. I mean, how complex are doors?
I love the placement of the side view mirror too.
But I didn't even notice that.
Why not just put it on the quarter panel? Like it's on like the windshield.
Just so that cowl shake can blind your rearview mirrors as well.
You still have to step over that sill to get in, but at least the door doesn't open to cars next to you. I don't know.
It's just weird.
I couldn't figure. I did a little bit of research on like what was the
Justification?
purpose for that, and I couldn't really find a good explanation.
Well, it doesn't even seem like a BMW thing to do. This seems like a Lamborghini thing to do.
Yeah,
like, BMW
exactly.
would be like, let's make the perfect hinge, and then it'll break
breaks.
after the warranty expires. But this is like the Lamborghini. Like I think Jeremy Clarkson put it best, where he was talking about the Aventador. He's like, they should have made the windshield wipers out of lasers. You know what I mean? Like that's like
Yeah.
more of the Lamborghini. Like I feel like somebody took a trip to Italy and like maybe brought back some special white powder and was like,
What if the doors?
what if the door disappeared?
You know what? This is the other side. Jason Camisa made this point on a recent Carmagin Show episode. He had said that some amazing stuff comes out when the Germans and the Italians work together. And he said, let the Italians... He was not referencing World War II. He said, let the Italians do the styling and let the Germans do the engineering. It looks like a beautiful Italian thing. It works like a German car. And this is where they let the German...
I don't
Italians
understand
do
this
the
German
engineering.
reputation. This makes no sense to me. I understand it for Porsche, but like literally every other German manufacturer, I've only in my lifetime heard of them being extremely unreliable and expensive to repair.
Expensive to repair, yes.
Like I get Porsche. Porsches are great, but I'm sure there's like a heritage reason.
So up until the mid-'80s, Mercedes-Benz engineered every car with zero attention to cost. And whatever it cost to engineer the best car in that segment is what it cost. And then the car cost as much as it needed to cover that. And people still bought them because they were the best engineered vehicles, period. That brought a lot of this reputation to Germany generally. A BMW M3 cost X amount. The equivalent competitor for Mercedes-Benz would cost twice as much, but you got a vehicle that was engineered like no other. And I think that's where it comes from. But attitude-wise, a lot of German cars, they are over-engineered, which is a problem, but they're thoughtfully engineered, which is not a problem. And then the Japanese came in, and they're like, hey, what if we did that with what Germany's doing, and we took out like 80% of the parts, and we made it as simple as we could, and then it's lighter, it's cheaper, and that's how Japan broke into the market, is they took the German designs, and very often they will have a German vehicle in Japan to work off of, to basically just try to take as many parts out of it as possible to make their competitor.
Like if I needed to make it to the birth of my child and I needed to choose one car and I could do a Viper, a BMW M1, or an Acura NSX, and I'm going based off of which car will get me to the hospital, I will choose the NSX every time. And the Viper is probably capable of getting me to the hospital without breaking. It's just it won't do it without killing me.
All right. Whose quirk is this?
This is mine. So Mazda does this thing that's different from every other car company. They are a much smaller car company. For how many cars they sell in the US, they're actually a really small company in comparison to most other ones because they're not a part of some giant
I
conglomerate.
love their cars. I love Mazdas so much.
They are really amazing.
All right.
They punch so far above their weight class.
Especially in interior quality, they're like over there with Genesis and punching above their weight class.
So what's your quirk?
Their stupid infotainment system. You cannot. they are touch screens. No, you are not allowed to touch them.
I'll never understand that.
Have you heard of this, Kira?
I remember when the Snom thing first came out in the ads, but my Mazda was too dumb for this.
Yeah, her Mazda had. Trust me, it was my Mazda too. It just had a tiny little, like digital.
Oh, I remember it. It had the little lines went side to side when you turn the car on. Yeah, I remember.
All the dinosaur really perfect though.
So their infotainment screens are touch screens. They're sourced from the same manufacturer, like you were saying. They are touch screens. and they for a long time they refused to let you touch them. They also put them far enough away from the driver that it would be completely uncomfortable and unnatural to try to touch them.
Safety, Jordan, safety.
And they said for safety reasons, you have to use this knob, and you would select things with the knob and then push the center button in. Fine. What I've noticed driving them is that once you get used to it, it actually is beneficial, because if you know, like, oh, it's only 3 clicks over to get to the thing I want, you don't have to look at the screen at all. You can navigate without looking at the screen whatsoever.
But there's a learning curve to get to that point.
Yes, most stuff is analog. Most things, it's basically just radio, navigation if your car has it, Bluetooth, and then settings. That's it.
I can tell you right now why they did this.
They claim it's because of safety.
No. They did. Okay, so safety is because the screen is too far away, because it'd be distracting to reach 3 feet over to reach the screen. But that's placed there so that way it's cheaper to manufacture the car in both left-hand and right-hand drive markets. So if they can keep the interior as symmetrical as possible with the screen right in the middle, well, the screen's too far away to use safely, so they introduced the dial.
That's a practical reason.
That makes sense. I think the problem is that most people get into it, start touching the screen. Newer ones, the touchscreen works as a touchscreen as long as you're in park. So you can touch it and navigate everything. And as soon as you start driving, that's when you have to start figuring out how to use this thing while the car's in motion.
Nice.
So anyway, I just find it annoying and frustrating, but I've used them enough that I like using it, but I know why people complain about it.
Yeah.
I had a Mazda 3 as a rental car like 4 or 5 years ago, like the newer generation. First of all, very handsome car. But I can tell you there's a specific instance where this is nice, which is when I was leaned back eating In-N-Out in the driver's seat, and I wanted to change something, and I only had to reach for the dial. I was like, oh, it's kind of nice. I have a little dial here.
When have you driven Mazdas?
I used to sell Mazdas.
I have a very vivid memory of Kira teaching me, air quotes, how to drive a manual.
Mason taught me how to drive a manual in that car too.
Yeah, it's basically just like, just drive, you know? And I was like, okay. And I stall it like 4 or 5 times getting out of the parking lot. She's like, it's fine, just get on the road. Okay. And then I like try to make a left turn in like a busy intersection, and I stalled it probably like 15 times.
It was like 3 light cycles before we got out.
Yeah, it was like 3 cycles of the light of just me. It was horrifying. And then Kira's just there just like, yeah.
Well, that's what they're supposed to do, dude. You know how to drive a stick shift now.
Take over. But yeah. That's good, man. I like this. I actually like the knob. I don't think it's that bad. You should be able to touch the screen, though.
So speaking of touchscreens, we've had touchscreens for a long time. So it's interesting that Mazda's decided to hold out, considering we've had them since... When do we start getting touchscreens, Logan?
1986. It's funny, Jordan's is a car with a screen you should be able to touch, local to its time period. And mine is a car with a screen you should not be able to touch, local to its time period. So I'm talking about the Buick Riviera and Riata touchscreens. So that's the photo. So this is, I believe, from a Riata. So they call it the Electronics Control Center. It's actually, I did a big dive on this. It's kind of really interesting, the whole story. So they had a regular old CRT screen. So it's a regular CRT screen, but then they lined it with transparent mylar, which is what the weather balloon that landed at Roswell was allegedly made out of, or like a space blanket. It's conductive. So when you press on this mylar film, it closes the circuit and it recognizes the location that you touched. And based off of what's being presented on the screen, it associates where things are located on the screen with where you touched on the mylar film, where you close that circuit, and it knows what you clicked. It's really smart. And it predates the iPhone by 21 years. So 1986, iPhone didn't come out until 2007.
Doesn't have multi-touch, does it?
So multi-touch actually came around in other GM products in the same era.
Really?
But GM scrapped all of these touchscreen products by the early 1990s because it was just too advanced. People weren't comfortable with it. They didn't like it, but it had tons of functions. Like the Riviera and the Riata I think they had like 91 different functions, and you could get all sorts of stuff: tire pressure information, oil pressure, engine temp. It had a digital tachometer, but there's other cool stuff. So for example, this is a little bit too old for me, but like the CRT screens, they'd have to warm up. So they engineered the door handle to sense your touch. And so when you touch the door handle, it would trigger the car to begin turning on the CRT screen. So that way, by the time you opened it and you sat down, the screens were warmed up and it would actually be able to present all the information immediately. So that way you weren't starting it waiting for the CRT screens to warm up.
GM's such a weird, because like they'll do stuff like that. So they'll do things like that and then just like be completely unable to make a 4-cylinder engine.
And they made the first commercially available electric vehicle.
Yeah. The electric one, right? Or whatever it was.
Something like that. It was, or EV1 maybe.
EV1, yeah. Like 99, 98.
It was before that. But yeah, it was a while ago now.
It could go like 80 miles or something.
Incorrect. The first generation Toyota RAV4 came out in 1994 in Japan and had an EV model that came to the US in 1996. So that GM product would have to come before that. I did a deep dive on the forums too for the Buick Riata, and a lot of people are reporting that they're just still working like 35 years on. And there's this one guy that kept coming up like since like 2013 was like the oldest forum post. It's this guy named Eddie who I guess got fired from GM or something, and he basically stole all the equipment that you would use to produce these CRT screens and the Mylar film that goes over them. He took all the specialized equipment with him home, and he basically started up his own business only servicing people that have cars that use this electronics control center, which is what GM called it. And he refurbishes them, and he's like the one guy that refurbishes them, and everybody in the forums like, oh yeah, you stopped working, just like call Eddie, send it to him. It costs like $600. He'll rebuild it for you because he stole all the tools from GM in like 1994, and he'll send it back to you. It's awesome. So it's like it's so true to form too. So like when you have like a small, I don't know how small production these cars were, but like I had a 1970 AMC Javelin, and that's a one-off year. So every body panel in the Javelin for 1970 is
unique.
Not every body panel, but pretty much all of them are unique. I had to do some research when I was doing work on that car, and there was this father-son duo in Ohio who had this website that looked like it was going to steal my social security number, and that was where you ordered parts. And you're like, I called him, and it was like just this like crotchety old guy, and he's like, "What do you want?" And I was like, a parking brake cable." And he's like, "All right." He's like, "Hey, you're gonna need these nuts too, and like these bolts and this bracket. I see it's not in your cart, but I'm gonna put it in the box and just, I'll charge you for it later or something." I was like,
I came across a guy here in Arizona, like 20 minutes from where we live, that he rebuilds carburetors in his garage, and specifically Mopar carburetors. And he was just like this guy. You ask around long enough, there's just a guy who does stuff for that really, really specific thing. And he had an unending list of people coming in, having them rebuild their carburetors.
Yeah. I follow a guy who owns a DeLorean, and it's a similar story with trying to get his radio fixed. There's like one company in like Germany or France, like one guy who does it basically, who fixes them or adds Bluetooth to them if you want to keep the original set deck.
Yeah, not too long from now, that's going to be CCS adapters. One company.
Let's move on to hot takes. So hot takes are opinions that we hold strong, that are strong and may or may not be seen as controversial. So my first hot take: the new Hummer EV is a real Hummer, and it is every bit a Hummer as the original Hummer, maybe even more so. It may as well drive around wearing the American flag as a cape.
which original Hummer are we talking about here?
The H1.
Okay, the road legal one.
Yes.
Not the Humvee.
Yes. And I have that opinion despite thinking 3 years ago when they first announced this vehicle that, okay, they're just going to come up with some lame SUV like what they did to the Blazer. Insert the Godfather meme here.
Travesty.
Look how they massacred my boy. That's what I thought they were going to do with the Hummer. And boy, was I wrong. Now, by no means am I saying the Hummer's a good car. I am saying it is definitely as Hummer as a Hummer could get. As far as excess as far as inefficiency goes. I understand it's electric. It is the least efficient electric vehicle out there, and it's not even close. Just the embodiment of what the Hummer of the early 2000s represented.
In the same amount of charge will get you 3 times the distance in a Model 3 than it will in a Hummer.
They say that though, but like you can't fit that battery in a Model 3. So it doesn't okay. A Model 3 is a Model 3 even the third the size?
No, on an equivalent amount of kilowatts. So if you have 60 kilowatt hours to work with and you only charge the Hummer up to 60 kilowatt hours, the Tesla will go 3 times the distance.
So people are used to, especially early adopter electric vehicles who actually have free supercharging, you're used to not even factoring in the cost of operating your vehicle. Sure, there's some cost associated with it, especially if you live in an area where electricity is a little more expensive. There is some cost, but it's so minuscule compared to paying for gas that you don't really even need to factor it into your budget. Gas is something, especially if you commute a lot, you do need to factor in. Whereas electric vehicles, you charge it at home, you charge it at work, you don't really think about it. It doesn't cost all that much money to drive for hundreds of miles, right? So the EPA says 1 gallon of gas is about equal to 33.7 kilowatts. Kilowatt hours, thank you. And the national average energy cost is almost 14 cents per kilowatt hour. That's the equivalent of paying for electricity about $4.48 per gallon of gas.
I've got to argue with you on that one, though.
Well, all right. The average gas price right now across the country is $3.53. So, what do you have to say?
1 gallon of gas is 70% heat.
Yes. So I'm going to elaborate on that. Okay. So, yes, it's equivalent to paying $4.48 per gallon.
Yeah, but you get 90 miles to the gallon or whatever.
Exactly. You can go a pretty incredible range. So, the 2024 GMC Hummer EV has a 213 kilowatt hour capacity battery. So it costs $28.32 to fill that thing up with electricity. And it's only good for 311 miles of range. So 311 miles for $28.
It's 9.5 cents a mile.
It is $1 for 11 miles of range.
Yeah, 9.5 cents a mile.
A 2024 Honda Civic, not a hybrid, just a regular gas-powered car, it costs $43 to fill up that car. But on that full tank, the Honda Civic will go 430 miles. $1 put into a Honda Civic will get you 10 miles of range. So the Hummer, despite being an electric vehicle, gets the same amount per dollar of range as a Civic, which is not an EV Civic, not a hybrid Civic, just a normal gas-powered car. And it gets like 35 miles a gallon, which is good, but by no means like an efficiency king. And the Hummer's basically at parity with it, despite it being electric.
Yeah, but for context, my Tesla it's 1.5 cents per mile, basically.
You see a different way, Logan?
Yeah. What you're saying to me is I get to move a 9,000-pound Hummer like a G with the efficiency of a Honda Civic. That's what you're saying to me.
No.
That sounds like a pretty good deal to me.
For the same cost as driving a Civic.
Exactly, which is what that means. The same economic efficiency.
A gas Civic, though. Again, filling your car with electricity should be negligible.
I'll eat your Civic. I don't care.
But
look, I'm going to whip around in my GMC Hummer EV. I'm going to say it was a business cost. I'm going to start selling subprime mortgages. And I will single-handedly institute the next recession.
I mean, he's got a point. If he's driving a Hummer at the cost of a Civic,
yeah, exactly.
Obviously you're paying more on the front end, but it's an EV.
I'm still driving a Hummer.
Yeah.
Right. So it sounds like you're arguing in favor of Mason's point. That, yeah.
That is the attitude of someone who would buy a Hummer.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. Where's the 1972 Hemi Cuda on this?
Hey. You shut your mouth.
So would you say that the Cuda then, Logan, is a much better Hummer?
The Cuda offers the same thing that the Hummer offers, which is gravitas. It has presence.
In a way.
It's for top G's only.
the CUDA is pretty average for its time. It's inefficient by today's standards, but you're comparing it to cars that are 50 years newer than it. The Hummer was inefficient by 2001 standards, and this thing is inefficient by today's standards, despite being electric. The inefficiency alone is painting a picture of a car that does not care what anyone thinks about it, whose driver does not care what anyone thinks about them.
Yeah, 100%.
And they will just, if there's a baby endangered seal in the road, they will just run it over with their 9,000-pound vehicle.
And high five somebody and shotgun a beer while behind the wheel.
No, that's not true. Would you say the same thing about a Honda Civic owner?
No, but the Honda Civic weighs a third.
Okay, but then
amount.
the Honda Civic owner cares as little about the environment as I do. I'm just doing it in a way better, cooler, bigger vehicle.
I would argue that Honda Civic, I don't know the exact details. I bet you would need to drive that Civic to the moon and back before it equaled how much damage that thing did to the environment before it ever even hit the tarmac.
Wait. Also, you need to put some knickknacks and some tchotchkes in your Civic. It's going to take you 8 trips. I can fit your whole Civic and all my stuff in my Hummer.
You can't, though.
In the back of your Ford F-1000?
You can't, though. The bed's like 4 feet long.
Why would you buy a truck for a bed?
Spoke like a true Hummer owner.
I saw the SUV version outside in the neighborhood near me, and I was like, that's the first one I've seen. I can't believe anyone actually purchased that.
Yeah.
Especially living, like, I don't live in an affluent area. I'm like, why am I looking at a $130,000 Hummer in, like, the neighborhood?
There is a Hummer SUV. Is that a 3-row?
I don't even know if it is. You know the original Hummer? Just on the topic of, I almost picked this as my quirk. It had one seat in the third row.
The original, like the H2?
The H2.
Really?
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
It was 2 in the front, 3 in the middle, and just because, 1 in the third row.
Was there room for 2?
They had the spare tire, which was giant, in there next to the seat. But after the first or second model year, they put the tire on the back of the vehicle, but never bothered to add more seats inside the Hummer.
It only has...
Again, it goes back to just a mentality of just whatever. Like, F you for even asking, you know? Screw you and the horse you came in on. I only want 1 seat in my third row.
Okay, you ready to get judgy?
Yes, tell us.
Most people make exclusively terrible car decisions. Most people don't go through their life having made a sensible car purchase. I'm waiting. Do you is this deemed good take, Logan?
I'm trying to think about the number of the most popular cars on the road. First of all, the first 3 or 4 are all trucks, which we already agreed the vast majority of those bought are way more than what you actually need for most people.
Define need.
Do you really? I mean, the fact that I don't need a Hummer is why I need a Hummer.
I need to flex on all of those peasants that I can't see.
The baby seals.
It's your California squat.
Yeah, it's a Carolina squat. First of all,
Every state calls it the neighboring state because no one wants to take responsibility for that crap.
So you think most people make bad car purchase decisions?
In one of a couple of metrics. Either they paid too much.
Okay.
They bought more car than they could afford, which are not the same thing. Or they bought a bad car. Whether that's a bad used car or a Nissan.
Or they were dumb about their financing of the car.
That's what I meant by like they couldn't afford. Yeah. Or the way they purchased it, they ended up in a bad spot and they didn't have to.
Financing the car and then financing titling and paying the tax on the car, which I've seen.
And the extended warranties and everything. Showing up with no dollars down, paying interest on your registration.
I'd say in many ways, American car buyers are broken. Like, just their mentality is broken.
But it's beyond that.
Would you say that the car dealerships are taking advantage of these people?
100%.
Unethical?
100%.
Tell me what you used to do for a living, Jordan.
I used to sell cars.
Oh, okay.
This is so I come at this from a place of knowledge. But it's not just that most people make bad car decisions, or most people are buying cars in a broken system. I think that most people don't even know what a good purchase looks like.
I mean, it extends further than cars. We don't have to go down this tangent, but America is a country in debt, and it extends beyond cars. Now, cars are, other than a house, the most expensive thing you finance. So that's the most obvious, but people finance all kinds of dumb things. Make
weddings,
dumb purchase
wedding
decisions.
rings.
So I think cars are just the most obvious, most universal.
Well, I think as a country, we rely on cars more than like Europe,
Yeah, the lack of public transportation here is...
Well, just the way that everything's spread out, just the grid is much wider than...
Yeah, the availability of space it has completely changed the dynamic.
Yeah.
Also, our cars there's two problems with our cars. One, they're way, way, way more luxurious than they need to be. Like even the most basic model. Like
Complicated.
You ever ridden in a K truck or like a Japanese car, like a JDM car? Like that's not like a sports car, like a regular, like a mini car, like a regular old
Or
K
like a
car or
50-year-old
something.
car.
They're literally like the door panels are like, you get in your Cuda and you're like, oh my gosh, the door panel's only like 4 inches thick, like the whole door. It's like that. They're super. There's nothing in there. It's just plastic and like a roller window, and that's plenty for like most people who just need a means of transportation. And then,
Right, but that's not how we treat our cars here.
Yeah, and then the second thing is that for whatever reason, vehicles are like inexorably tied to status in the United States. It's funny, like how like people really high up on the bell curve of income will own like a 2024 BMW, but then people really, really low on the bell curve of income will own like a 2018 BMW because they're seeking the status that the brand will lend
This
them.
is the Bill Gates wears a polo and a brown belt.
Well, do you remember Mauricio Ayala? Do you remember him?
Yeah.
He posted a meme that I thought was really funny because he has a BMW.
He's a BMW fanboy now, yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny because he posted this meme because it was like new BMW buyer, and it's just business professional guy, tie, briefcase, whatever, and then used BMW owner, and it was basically like him and his friends, like they're slammed Beamers and stuff, but it's like the same car, just like 5 years later.
The first owner of BMW versus second versus fifth.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we tie them so much to status. It's unbelievable. And not only that, but like Americans are like big like product people, because like, oh my God, talk to a Chevy guy about like a Ford. They're like, no, my thing is better than your thing because my dad liked this thing. And I know this
tribal in that
because
way.
you guys all love Mopars.
Well, they're the best, so
Yeah.
duh.
I mean, I agree. Like it's fun to be part of a tribe, but I'm perfectly willing to admit all of the faults and I have repeatedly with Chrysler products.
Yeah, I mean, we tie these things to status so much that, people will make terrible, terrible, terrible decisions. Combine that with just like really poor financial education and yeah.
Oh, it's unbelievable. The amount I feel like a genius in anytime like car purchasing comes up. I feel like how do you not know this? How do you not know all of this stuff?
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to our speed rounds then.
All right.
We'll start with 20 questions. So, Jordan.
Who's this for?
This is for Jordan. I'm staring at a car behind you right now. Don't turn around. You have 20 questions to figure out what this car is. Yes or no questions. Starting now.
Is it from the big three automakers?
No.
Is it from Europe?
Yes.
Okay. Is it French?
No.
Is it German?
No.
Has it been made in the last 10 years?
Yes.
Is it seen as generally reliable?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not English. Okay. That makes it Swedish.
Yes.
Okay. Is it a Koenigsegg?
No.
That means it's a Volvo.
No.
Okay, that means it's a Polestar.
Yes.
Okay, and if it's a Polestar...
That's 10 questions.
If it's a Polestar, is it a Polestar 2?
No.
Is it a Polestar 1?
That's it. Polestar 1, 12 questions. Good job.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. Can I say that is one of the most beautiful cars ever made?
It's drop dead gorgeous.
So good. Like, I normally like roll my eyes anytime you mention Polestar or Volvo, but then my eyes come back and I'm like, okay. Yeah.
The only thing I can fault this car on is how much it weighs.
Jordan was really good at that game. I feel bad. Like, my first question in my head, I was going to be like, what color is it?
Does it have wheels?
Is it blue?
It's a Brat, right? Are you sure it's not a
What
Brat?
color Subaru Brat is it?
Does it have 2 seats in the bed?
All right, Logan, you want to do this one? 20 questions.
Okay, I'm on the Polestar 1 slide. That's fine, right?
Don't look at it. Stay away from the slides.
Closing my eyes.
If he doesn't get it, I want to try.
20 questions, figure out what car I'm thinking of. Go.
Is it from a European car company?
Yes.
Is it from a country that was on the Axis powers?
Yes.
During right? Country that rapidly surrendered or took a long time to surrender?
I don't know history well enough to answer that question.
He's asking, is it Italian or is it German?
I know he's asking, but I don't know which one he's referring to. It's German.
Is it a luxury car?
Yes,
Is it a Mercedes-Benz?
it is.
Does it have a V8?
I believe so.
Is it an SUV?
Yes. Yeah.
What does that mean?
I'll tell you this. It is a very unique vehicle. You can call it an SUV.
Is it the Barbie Jeep? Is it the Cabriolet G-Wagon?
It's a specific type of G-Wagon.
Can I start guessing or let him finish?
Oh, is it the Brabus 6-wheeled?
Yep. Yep. It is the G-Wagon 6x6.
How many questions is that?
That was 8 or 9. It was really good.
20 questions. I got to guess the car you're thinking of.
Yes.
All right. Is it American?
No.
Is it European?
No.
Is it Japanese?
God.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Is it a car we'll likely have heard of?
Oh, yeah.
Is it a Miata?
No.
Basically.
From Toyota?
No.
Is it from Nissan?
No.
Is it from Mazda?
No.
Keep going.
Is it from Subaru?
No. It's another really big
Is it
one.
from Honda?
Yes,
Has it been on sale for the last 5 years?
it has.
Is it a performance version of a specific car? Is it an NSX?
No.
Accurate.
Oh, that was accurate, yeah. Is it an SUV?
No.
Is it a hatchback?
No.
Is it part of their regular lineup?
Yeah.
Is it an Accord?
No. Not a sedan, not an SUV, not a hatchback.
Oh. It's a Ridgeline.
It's a Ridgeline.
Way to spoon feed it to him there at the end.
And I just repeated his questions back to him. But yeah,
I know you used to love that when you had your Civic.
I still kind of like it. Part of me still kind of likes it.
You know which one I've come to like a lot more lately is the Avalanche.
It was ahead of its time.
It was.
I've got one, but you only get one question.
Is it a Subaru Brat?
All right, next segment.
I've got one.
Is it a Miata? Yeah. All right, Jordan, this one's for you. Blind rank these 5 cars without knowing what comes next. Segment is mid-size trucks. You did this to me a few weeks ago. I want your take on some of these. So you don't know what's coming next. First one is Chevy Colorado, 1 to 5.
4.
4. Okay.
No. 3.
Okay. Toyota
1.
Tacoma. Yeah, you knew that was coming. Honda Ridgeline.
See, that's as lower down on the segment. I think they're too expensive for what you get.
Quick.
I'm going to call that 2.
Ranger,
Still 5.
5. Frontier.
Gosh dang it, 6.
It has to be a 4 now.
It's 4. Gosh dang it.
You don't like the Frontier?
No. The underneath, it's the same as it was back in 2007.
Find something. This Ford truck is a Raptor, right?
Yeah, it's a Ranger Raptor.
Yeah, Ranger Raptor.
It's just a picture of a Ranger.
But Jordan doesn't care what it is. He would still put it at 5.
I've driven the Ranger enough to know it's not worth it.
That was the most flattering picture of each of these cars I could find.
Yeah, I would probably put the Frontier at 5 because those are also way too expensive for what you get. Yeah. You're essentially getting a 20-year-old car or an 18-year-old car.
buy a used one that used to be a fleet vehicle.
All right, Logan. Rank these cars without knowing what comes next. Segment is cars that start with the letter M.
Is this brands or models?
Models. First one, Murcielago.
Oh.
That is number 1.
Okay.
Going out of the gate.
M5.
That generation of M5?
That's a CS, I think.
Yeah. Those are cool. 3.
Okay. Model S Plaid.
Model. Okay. Whatever.
That's its name. It's not called the S.
I guess 5. I don't really care.
So Murcielago was 1. M5 was 3. Model S is 5. Mustang GT.
This is the new GT?
That's the dark horse.
Yeah, okay. GT start dark horse.
The new Mustang looks great. I actually really like the new.
I like it too.
Me too.
Where do you rank it? 2 or 4?
2.
2. Miata. Can you tell I made this for you and I didn't know Logan was going to be part of this?
I guess, yeah, it gets a 4. I would put it lower, to be honest. I'm not a big Miata guy.
It's okay. I've given up on that anyway.
All right.
No, I'm comfortable with my rankings. I think, Murcielago is number 1. That can't ever not be number 1.
You know what's hilarious is you know that I would have said number 1 for the Murcielago too.
I know. That's why I waited to have the Miata the last one to make you have to rank the Miata something other than 1.
Is there any car you guys can think of that starts with the letter M that you would have over a Mercy? That's the real question. I can't think of any.
Jordan would take a Miata.
I would take a Miata.
No, the Murcielagos, other than the Cuda, that one's up there.
And that orange too. Oh my god,
the orange is good. The only thing I like more than the orange is the gray with the yellow calipers.
Almost a Reventon looking.
Have you seen the gauge cluster of a Reventon? Have you ever looked at pictures of it?
Yeah, it looks like a jet
so
fighter.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, Jordan, rank these 5 cars without knowing what comes next. Segment is Utes.
Utes, okay. Isn't this for Logan? Subaru. Oh, that's the Dodge Rampage.
Rampage.
Oh, geez. The fact that no one...
I've never seen one.
I've never seen one. I gotta say, I know nothing about it other than it's just the Dodge version of them. Like,
they're
but
cool.
We're cool too. I'm gonna call it a 4.
4. Okay.
Logan, guys.
El Camino.
El Camino. That's the champion of the Utes. But I know you're gonna have the Holden Monaro. What's it called?
Maloo, I think.
Okay. I'm gonna call that 2. Just holding out for that Holden.
This dirty thing.
6.
I got the least appealing looking Brad I could find.
It's got the leather tarp over the back. I'm gonna call that a 5 because Logan said mine is supposed to be lower.
So you did Rampage what?
4.
4, 2,
5.
5. There she is. 1.
A supercharged V8.
It's so cool. It's the dumbest thing. Dumbest on paper, but it's so cool.
Jeremy Clarkson made a joke about how the Australians, for some vehicle, GM went to the Australian designers for something, and he's like, "Why would the Americans go to the Australians for sophistication?"
Yeah,
and I think about that every time I see this thing. I'm like, this is more American than anything I could think of, and that's Australian.
Yeah, the Ford.
not El Ranchero, just Ranchero.
Ford Ranchero. I'm cool with that being 3. Yeah. But I knew you were going to come out with the Holden Maloo. And
Yeah. I think it's the Holden Ute Maloo.
Maloo. Yeah, I always just call it the Holden Ute.
Yeah, G8 GXP underneath.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Chevy SS, Holden Commodore, same thing, just with a different back.
All right, Logan. Guess this car by this zoomed in picture. Tell me if you know what it is. Ready?
Yep.
What is that?
That's the Lamborghini Revuelto.
Revuelto. Very good.
Nice. I wouldn't have got that. I knew there was a new one. I just can never remember the name.
So good.
So good.
So
it looks so. It is.
So
This is Lamborghini right here. Like that.
Yeah.
It looks.
We're back, baby.
Yeah. Like look at those rims.
It almost makes you forget that they made the Uranus.
The look at the flying buttresses.
Yeah, they're cool. All right, we got to keep moving. What is this one, Logan?
Alfa Romeo Giulia.
Yeah.
Julia.
And what do those rims come on? What trim?
The one with the little clover.
Yeah. Quadrifoglio. Yeah. The rims were a giveaway.
I saw it and I was like, that's...
Logan, what's this?
It's Challenger.
Think uglier.
Shut up.
I don't know.
I love how you knew it by the fog light. It's
What is
the
it?
Miata.
It's the dumb.
All right, Jordan, guess this car by this zoomed in picture.
Oh, good God.
I will tell you, it is a toy car, but it is a real car. And those are what would be aftermarket tires.
Yeah, but the headlights and the grille look like a Mercedes designed by Bruno Sacco.
You're right. You're right on the money with that one, actually.
But it also feels like it could be anything because...
Take whatever you're thinking, add twice as many chromosomes.
This looks like a monster truck. It's clear. It looks like a sedan on a pickup truck frame.
Now we're getting somewhere.
That is oddly very close. Think the other way around.
It's a pickup truck on a sedan frame?
Basically.
So it's a ute.
Basically.
Am I going to slap myself on the forehead for not knowing this?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I don't know it.
So stupid. To be fair, it's heavily modified.
Yes.
I mean, it looks like...
I think it's cool.
It is cool as hell.
But those headlights, it looked like it was just drawn with crayon when you zoomed in on it.
I said it was a toy. All right. What's this one?
Oh, Alfa Romeo 4C?
Oh, wow. Jordans are way harder.
I don't think you know this brand as well. That vent right there should be a giveaway.
I mean, the vent there tells me that it's 911 turbo.
Very good.
I just don't know what kind.
Yeah. 911 turbo. All right. Last one. What's this car?
Oh, that's a Mini.
How do you know?
The Union Jack taillights.
Yeah, this is the new Mini.
Is that the last one?
That's the last one. Good job. All right. Logan, you want to do another one?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Guess this car.
Oh.
Ford GT.
Very good. I know. Those taillights are so cool. All right. What's this one?
Mercedes-Benz SLS.
AMG on the hubcap.
Does that say AMG on the hubcap?
Or no, C like C63 AMG or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
What? Oh. It's GMC, the upside down.
See. Okay.
Yeah, it's an Envoy.
I thought it was Mercedes.
I thought for sure you would know that.
Yeah, I thought Mercedes headlights when I saw the AMG, which is GMC.
All right. What's that next one?
Oh my gosh.
That green machine.
This is a 70 or 71 CUDA because it doesn't have the little bumperettes.
Yep, very good. The 71 is the only year of the CUDA to have dual headlights. 70 had single headlights, and then 72 onward had single. 71 was the only one that had dual. All right, moving on to trivia. All right, Jordan, you're going to like this one. Trivia time. List the 5 oldest car names still in production, and that's continuous production.
So then there was a break in the Beatles, so that wouldn't count. I'm going to say Mini is probably one of them.
No. And this is American and European, worldwide.
Accord?
No. I'll say 3 of the top 5 are American.
I've got one right off the bat.
What's your guess, Logan?
Mustang.
Mustang is number 8, not in the top 5. The oldest one on this list is American.
Oh. F-150.
Ford F-Series is number 2.
Oh, see, I was writing that off because I was thinking Ford F-150 or F whatever, F-100.
F-Series. Regular Car Reviews hates this car.
Corvette.
Yep, number 5, 1953. But that has an asterisk next to it because technically there are no 1982 Corvettes.
Really?
Yeah, you will not find a 1982 Corvette anywhere. 1981 was the last year of the C3, and they were getting ready to make the C4, and it had to be delayed by 6 months, and so it was halfway through 1982, and they just labeled it 1983. They made a handful of pre-production cars that had VINs and were registered as 1982 cars, but they demolished them all, but they accidentally left one in the parking lot for years. And it was discovered it is the only 1982 Corvette on the planet, and it's in a museum.
That's cool.
I'll give it to the Corvette, because technically there is one 1982 Corvette, And Corvette came out in 1953.
We've got Corvette. We've got
Ford F-Series.
Ford F-Series. I don't know what other American car has been around that long. I mean, it's got to be a General Motors.
It is a General Motors product. It's a very popular General Motors product. Always has been.
Suburban.
Yep. Chevy Suburban has had its name unchanged since 1935 when it came out. 1935. It's going to hit 100 years.
That's crazy.
So Chevy Suburban's number 1, 1935. Ford F-Series, number 2, 1948. Volkswagen Transporter, the microbus.
That's still in production?
1950. It's still in production. Toyota Land Cruiser has been in production continuously since 1951. And number 5, the Chevy Corvette, 1953. Yeah, it's the Suburban right there, 1935.
Oh, that's cute.
My gosh.
It's been in production since 1935.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a delivery vehicle from back then.
Jordan, trivia time. What is the last car sold in the U.S. with a factory-installed cassette player?
That would be the Lexus two-door. It's a Toyota Solara, but the Lexus version. I can't remember the name.
Yeah. The Lexus SC430. 2010. It had a cassette player.
Yeah.
The interior wasn't significantly updated since it was introduced in 2001. And I think it just kept holding on until they
kept selling it. Are you surprised I got that one?
I am surprised. Yeah, so SC430, 2010. Still, there it is right there. Still had a factory cassette player. All right, Logan, let's see if you know this one. Trivia time. What was the last car sold in the U.S. with pop-up headlights?
I think I know
I
this.
want to say Miata, honestly.
That's what I was going to say. Because I know they didn't change to the NB until they absolutely had to.
It's like 2001 or something.
I'll give you a hint. It wasn't until 2004.
Chevy Corvette?
You got it. Technically, there's two. Chevy Corvette, C5 Corvette, replaced with the C6 in 2005, and the Lotus Esprit was discontinued after 2004. That's the Corvette, 2004, and that's the Esprit in 2004, both with pop-up headlights. The very last pop-up headlights. All right, Jordan, I don't know if you know this or not. What was the last car sold in the U.S. with front vent windows?
That's gonna be like some SUV that's stuck around for a really long time.
You got it.
I'm gonna guess it's probably a Land Cruiser. Or you just tell me wrong. Don't tell me what it is. I'm gonna keep guessing.
Nope.
It's not a Land Cruiser. Defender?
Nope.
Some like off-roady thing that they didn't bother changing. Suzuki Samurai.
No, it's American, and it was 1996.
Bronco?
Bronco and F-150. With air conditioning becoming standard and the decline of smoking, this kind of made the vent windows obsolete. But there's a picture of the Bronco with the front vent window, 1996. And then obviously the F-150 is the same body style. All right, Logan, you're going to like this question.
Yeah.
Trivia time. Name 10 vehicles that had an SRT badge.
Can I go from most obscure to least obscure?
You can go however you want. You just got to get 10. Technically, there's 11. But I want to see if you can get 10.
Dodge Caliber SRT4.
Yep. I did not think you'd get that one.
Chrysler Crossfire SRT6.
I did not think you'd get that one either.
Those are the two that I was thinking of.
Dodge Viper SRT10.
Very good.
Dodge Ram SRT10.
Very good. Those are the three most obscure ones.
Dodge Caravan SRT.
I wish. SRT10.
Dodge Magnum SRT8.
Yep.
Dodge Charger SRT8. Dodge Challenger SRT8, Jeep Wrangler SRT8, Dodge Durango SRT8.
The Wrangler had a 392, but it was never an SRT.
The Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT8.
They did, yep.
How many is that?
That is 8.
Hold on, let me think. So we said the SRT4. Oh, the Dodge Neon SRT4.
You're both missing one.
The 300.
The 300, yeah, the 300 SRT.
SRT8, yeah. I think the most obscure one is the Chrysler Crossfire SRT6.
Yeah,
I love the way that car looks. I don't know why.
I was quizzing Dad about it, and he was blown away. They had an SRT6, and I was like, yeah. I had to convince him. I was like, it came in an SRT6. All right, Jordan, you are going to love this question. What are the 5 cheapest cars on sale in the U.S.?
Mitsubishi Mirage.
Yep, that's number 2.
Nissan Versa.
That's number 1.
That's number 1. Then it's going to be the Hyundai Accent.
Not the Accent.
There's the one smaller than the Accent?
I don't think it's smaller.
I'm blanking on the name. It starts with a V.
Hyundai Venue.
Okay, yeah.
Number 3. So Nissan Versa number 1, Mitsubishi Mirage number 2, Hyundai Venue number 3.
It was the Forte, but the Rio's smaller than the
Kia Forte is number 4.
Okay. And then
It's another Kia.
Forte Coupe?
Kia Soul.
Oh.
20,190.
It's because I don't think the Soul is like a particularly cheap car.
I think of that as a cheap car. Yeah, that's nice. Why do that when you can get a Polestar for $3,000 more?
Right?
That's crazy. If you think about it, like put a Kia Soul
Next to a Polestar 2.
This is why the new car market is going to completely tank.
Yeah. All right, trivia time, Logan. Give me your best guess, and then Jordan, give me yours. Driving at highway speed, 65 miles an hour, nonstop. How many days would it take you to get to the moon?
I happen to know how far away the moon is offhand, so I'm just going to do the math.
No, don't do the math. I just want you to think about it and guess. 65 miles an hour. How long would it take to get to the moon?
3 years.
I will say I was surprised.
My guess is 65 miles an hour.
Yeah, you said 235,000 miles?
It would take 153 days. The moon is, like you said, 238,000 miles away, 65 miles an hour. It would take
divided by 65.
3,700 hours.
And divided by 24. I did divide it by 365 thinking days.
Days. That's hours. So in days, that's 153. So half a year. Actually, I thought it would take a lot longer than that.
I was wrong thinking it was longer. Hold on, is that math right?
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought it would. I don't know.
Do you think it would take a lot longer?
I thought it would take a lot longer because there's cars out there with the amount of miles on them that it would take to get to the moon, and I think that takes a decade to get to. So we're driving nonstop. Maybe I'm thinking 2 or 3 years. I don't know.
That's a lot more practical way to get there.
I knew it was like more than 200, less than 500,000 miles.
Hey, I knew how far away the moon was.
Good job,
Logan. Good job.
Logan, it's simple mechanical engineering.
It's simple. It's all water under the fridge.
I'm still so proud of that. I haven't seen the movies. Which one is this from?
He met Vin Diesel. Not Vin Diesel, sorry.
He met Dom Toretto. Yeah, he totally met Dom Toretto.
If you don't know what we're referencing, then go back to our last episode. All right, well, thanks everyone for joining us. We will catch you in the next one.
See ya.